cult of hype in a brand new skin, searching for the next world to live in. Frames still question, consoles wait, Series S or Pro debate, performance talk in every thread, cyberpunk ghosts still in their heads. ACG speaks and the backlash comes, all for a number, what we've become. Critique gets drowned in the noise and fable. When did opinions turn unstable? Hype versus reality, line by line, some call it flawed, some call it fine. No spin cycle, no PR cable, we saw the truth at the game and Roundtable. Ooh, ooh, we saw the truth at the game and whoa, oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable. We've got a show for you today, and as always, chat is on point, getting Chrono to break even before the show starts.
Every time. Thank you, chat. Love you.
We got with us today Scrag, we got Lono, we got Chrono. Detective C's actually was supposed to join us this week, but if you guys could keep him in his thoughts and your thoughts and prayers, he's currently going through chemo right now, so he will be scheduled to join us for a future episode here to break it all down. We got three main topics, so this is a conversational podcast, so we'll see where the vibe takes us. I want to talk about the PlayStation PC, I would say trollish type rumors that kind of really kicked off yesterday, but even Chrono heard some interesting rumors that kind of take it in a different direction. So we're gonna open up today's show with that. We're gonna talk about Crimson Desert, the reception, the Defense Force. I think there's some interesting factions, and that's the way I've been viewing all the online discourse as of late. So I'm going to get the guys' takes, and I have to say thank you to Lono for saving me $70. It was at the cart. I watched the gameplay, and I was like, this isn't like, I'm not against the game, but I was listening to ACG's review. I listened to Force Gaming's review, two people I greatly respect in their opinions. And honestly, I was like, I think this is a game that's going to come to Game Pass at some point. I can wait, especially with and honestly, credit to the Pearl Abyss. They've been pushing out tons of updates, which is both good and bad because you got to wait to update the game. So we're going to talk a lot about the Crimson Desert reception. Does this game have a chance? The numbers clearly show that it's doing well. And then finally, I'd like to kind of dive into a little bit more Marathon. We talked heavily about it last week in terms of the numbers. This week, we got the Cryo raid map release, and it's got some interesting conditions. And I think I, for one, feel conflicted about those conditions. And I'm curious about what the panel thinks today. So let's get started with the PC rumor news, PC storefront. Like, I don't even know what to call it. Let's start with you, Lono. Welcome in. Welcome back, sir. What's your read on any kind of concept of a PlayStation store on the PC?
I mean, the timing felt weird because it was like, okay, is this remnant of what they were considering? And is that obviously scrapped now, given what Jason Schreier of Bloomberg said? Because I always thought if they're not pleased with performance on PC, they could do a launcher and then make more revenue because now they're not splitting with Steam. But to me, it just didn't track with the timeline. It's like it was clear they were getting diminished sales on PC. It was clear that was possibly part of the theory. Well, maybe not clear. It was sort of a theory that, like, okay, those diminished sales were why they were sort of pulling away. They weren't getting the conversion they once wanted. And then having branded boxes in the living room that could play their games, whether it's the Helix or the Steam Machine, that was kind of the tipping point of like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. So I thought it was kind of weird that in the wake of that, they would do something that would lower sales even more. Like the Steam user base has shown, pretty significant, hesitance and maybe even revulsion of like having to make a PSN account. Why would they make a PSN account and then also have to download another launcher? Something they have shown a reluctancy to do. So I thought, man, this doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint. Why we would hear you're backing off and we've noticed that the sales aren't as good. Why would you do something to even lower that? anymore. It was seemingly just a rumor. It was some guy speculating about the PSN getting its name like taken away or whatever they're doing there. And Schreier's already commented that like, yeah, that he seems to think this will be formally announced in the future at a shareholders thing, or maybe even when people ask about Cyro's coming to PC, there may be a formal answer from PlayStation like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. I expect that to show up in an earnings call, not in a marketing environment, because that's kind of negative. So I expect it to be in an earnings call, like an update on that strategy. And probably that'll be the last we really hear about it.
Chrono, you heard something interesting kind of in relation to that rumor this week. And I thought I'd like to kind of hear you expound on that.
Yeah, I just saw a couple of different posts. I was looking for both of them, but the only one I really found was somebody saying that it's more of a push to put the focus back on like streaming and remote play on PC. And so
that exists right now. And I believe I know Chili, who's in chat. He's told me about that multiple times, and I have yet to download and try it out personally. But outside of like streaming directly to your PlayStation, this would be streaming to the PS5 cloud, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It looked like it would include, I guess, with some subscription bonuses or whatever, but it would include like Sony Pictures TV and movies that are available, and it would include whatever library of games are available through PlayStation Plus. It's kind of weird because if they're pulling out of the PC market for games entirely, I know you're a big supporter of GeForce Now and cloud streaming in general, but is PC a dedicated PC streaming app really that useful? I'd like to know what the user numbers now on just the PlayStation Cloud numbers are on people playing PlayStation games on PC, because I just don't feel like that. We don't talk about it. Like it's not ever in any conversation. So is it worth building out an entire app and adding TV and movies again to PC, like a traditionally non-mobile device, unless you're playing on a laptop? And even then, like, are you really streaming stuff? Well, are you streaming games? You know, like I think that's the question. It's odd.
Sony does own a lot of content though. They have Crunchyroll. They've got a lot of ways of essentially kind of offering that value add. I think essentially when I kind of saw these rumors, it's like my first thought was, well, from a business perspective, it makes sense to, if nothing else, have an exploratory committee within your company to be like, what's the overall cost to actually get something like this up? What's the ongoing cost? Let's at least understand what this would take, because if they ever do decide to make another pivot and move in that direction, having their own PC storefront makes so much more sense than sharing a percentage of the revenue with Steam and with like wherever they put their games on it, because essentially then they could start to, in a way, offer that kind of like that cross progression, cross play. That's the one thing that I really felt was lacking in things like Helldivers 2. And when that whole drama kicked up, in Lono's point about how people were hesitant about making that link, it's like all you have to do is add incentive. You don't need to say you can't play unless you do this. You can say, if you do this, your progress will carry over. If you play it on PlayStation, we'll also throw in some cool cosmetics. Thank you so much for doing this thing. Bada bing, bada boom. And they didn't. They went with the hard stop. Gamers revolted. It caused a whole bunch of drama. I think hurt the game to a degree, even though I think it has since bounced back and found a really solid community. But I think all in all, like when I look at it, I go, yeah, it makes sense. Why give away 30% when you can control it? But at the same time, I don't have Epic's games launcher on my computer. I don't have Blizzard's game launcher on my computer. I actually use GeForce Now for any of that. So for me, I have like any option to not have to install and update my games, especially with my kids. Just yesterday brought me the Switches, and they're like, Fortnite's got like a 6-hour download. I'm like, man, that sucks to be you. I recommend playing something else, because I'm not going to let you watch that bar, Phil, for the next 6 hours. But
it's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has a company said 30% is too much, made their own launcher, and then failed on that launcher within 5 years? I can think of at least 4.
I know Ubisoft and EA both went that route. They still support their own launcher, but they eventually put all their stuff back on Steam because those Steam numbers are hard to ignore. If Sony's not seeing those numbers, though, what's the point?
Yeah, Sony hasn't seen the benefit because they don't do any day and date regardless.
If they did, that would be different. Like, I feel like the numbers would be different, right? Like, I don't feel like I'm taking crazy pills when I think that way, but it just seems like they did all this. It seems like they did all this work to kind of front load us, thinking they were doing a PC store. Those rumors have been circulating for a long time.
Yeah.
Last year we had the cross buy and like cross save badges going around the, leaked and had been data mined. So it's like all of that work was being done, but I guess when they sat and looked at the numbers, it was just, I guess it's not worth it anymore.
Oh no, you've said a stat, and I don't remember it. So it's some percentage of new PlayStation 5 owners are brand new to the PlayStation ecosystem. What's that number? Because maybe that was the play all along.
I've always felt like that was the play, because like when they initially started doing this, Herman Hulse talked about, we have a dual strategy, live service goes day and date, tentpole titles go later, in the hopes that people will want to play sequels and buy the console. So it always felt like a console-centric strategy. And then they cited a stat that they were getting about 25 to 30% new user acquisition. So people were buying PlayStation 5s and were completely new to the ecosystem. I believe the number continued to go up. I think it was settled around 30%. Now, if that number was in a direct relation to the sales they were getting, like we know people just in my community that played God of War 2018, and they're like, I'm not waiting to play Ragnarok. This game's too good. They literally bought a console so they could play Ragnarok. I know of at least a couple of people that did this for Horizon as well. Then you start putting sequels on the PC and they don't sell as well. Spider-Man 2 didn't sell as well. It was a rushed port. That was another thing I thought that was like an experiment. They were like maybe thinking, if we shrink the window, we make people don't wait as long, maybe we'll get more sales. But then the port was rushed and it was buggy and it wasn't very good. Ragnarok didn't sell as well as 2018 on PC. Forbidden West, same deal. So if they saw that then as a diminishment of that conversion rate, and then they started seeing less people quarterly buy PlayStations as new users, they were probably thinking the novelty's worn off. We're not getting that conversion, so why bother? Like the revenue they were getting from this was so small. Like out of their whole entire annual revenue, it was like what 1.5% or something. So it was a very small amount of money. Now Shuhei Yoshida said it's like printing money because you've already spent the bulk of your your money building it, and then having Nixus ported is such a small amount. But if you're also then sort of hurting your brand at some level, like, oh, you aren't really having exclusives, last, beyond like a year and a half to 2 years. And then I also think, I just kept saying, it gets a little bit complicated when you have branded devices that can play PlayStation games. Like a PC and a PC comparison video, like we saw Austin Evans do it in Linus Tech Tips, like they were doing comparison videos. That whole video is a great commercial for a PlayStation. It's not really commercial for PC because it's not branded. It's just some PC they built. But the minute you start having these videos of a branded Steam machine, Valve, and then you got a branded Xbox Helix, and these are other companies' products now branded and compared playing PlayStation games, I think that changed the calculus for them. It's like, well, we're getting less sales anyway, so let's just pull out of this. This isn't what we want to see, especially going into PlayStation 6. If you're listening to any of the things Mark Cerny's been saying about Project Amethyst and what it's yielding for PSSR and then the next version of FSR, I think they're really wanting to encroach on just how much better PC games look compared to PlayStation. And they're going to get there, I think, with this AMD relationship. So if you're going to encroach on that territory, why be sending games over there to muddy those marketing waters?
Yeah, especially because we know for a fact that an exclusive does move it. I bought my PS5 for Final Fantasy 16 specifically. Now, I do think their strategy from Square Enix didn't work in their favor numbers wise, and you see that impact on the Steam numbers because just the hype had kind of worn off. People have already kind of moved on. People have experienced the story and whatnot. But again, that's Square Enix is different from Sony. They don't have a platform. Sony does. Square Enix doesn't get that 30% regardless of where it's being sold, etc. So on that note, I want to talk about Crimson Desert as Gabriel. Hey, Gabe. Hey, bud. Okay.
I'll say one last thing too. I wouldn't be surprised if how well Yote sold was a part of the equation too. It's like it outsold Call of Duty in North America. It's on one platform. They're probably like, listen, our brand is so strong. Like we don't need to do this. Like we can really just make tons of money selling on our platform. Like when we know Wolverine will probably be a very, very big hit as well. So I think that probably was part of the equation. So I just want to, before we go to talk about, because I want to talk about Crimson.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad you made that. But yes, let's talk about Crimson Desert. As I said in the show open, Lono and his sacrifice for playing it on the base PS5, for trying to play it on an Xbox Series X. I was watching this. I also saw from a couple of other content creators, Colt Eastwood, for example, was trying to play it within the Xbox ecosystem. It wouldn't even let him install it on PC. Obviously, we can, like you move 5 days, 10 days, some of the launch issues, no matter what, kind of hopefully get ironed out. So I'm not going to, like really fault the game right now for that too much specifically, but the performance, the visuals, a lot of the things that were just, like red flags, they can detract from your experience. There's been a lot of interesting reviews. That's actually what makes Crimson Desert such a fun topic, is because the reviews range in such interesting ways, with Force Gaming like clearly loving it, speaking to his MMORPG roots as a gamer who likes games like Force and MMOs. That actually kind of appeals to me. But watching the game, seeing the issues and the bugs, and looking at just the insane scale of what they've accomplished, I was like, well, I mean, I kind of fall exactly with ACG, focusing in on wait for sale. And in my mind, I go, wait for Game Pass. Why sit here and spend the money? Because I actually don't think I have the time to invest in this game at the moment. So it just ends up being something on that regards. But we've also on this topic have seen some interesting takes. Lono, they've been calling you all kinds of names for your stance on just, guys, wait for reviews. It seems like it's such a logical step. But now that the game is out in the wild, how are we feeling? Because I think, Chrono, you also even told me that you were on the fence. Should we pick it up? And then watching Lono play, we're like, well, thanks for biting that bullet, because I think I can wait. What do you guys think about it? We'll just open it up to anybody.
Well,
I think the user reviews are fun to look at, because you can read a journalist review. They do a good job. That's whatever it is. That's its own thing. And Metacritic has an interesting stance on the aggregate scores right now. But then you jump over to Steam and you read what people are saying and what the individual user says, and how many of those reviews just say the same things. The controls are weird, or the frame rate is weird, or whatever. And then you look at those the console performance. Yeah, it was easy to go, all right, thanks for somebody else taking that chance and playing the game, because I'll wait and see if they can patch it, or maybe that doesn't come. Maybe it's a $20 buy, 2 or 3 years from now.
You don't think it's going to come to Game Pass at all?
Oh, it very well could. I don't know. There's no reason it couldn't.
Yeah. Greg, you were about to say something?
I've already played this game. It's called Black Desert, and it had anime thighs in it.
I've said a lot, obviously, and so I don't need to necessarily retread everything I've said. The diagnosis that I've kind of come up with, the more I've looked at, if you looked at the picture I showed, where like there's so many things you can do with the controls, and then size of the world and NPC density being one of the things that we sort of think is why the game's running so poorly on console. I essentially said, I feel like starting as an MMO and trying to turn it into a single player game is what is hurting this game so significantly, because typically in an MMO, all those NPCs in the town or enemies that you're fighting, you're not necessarily running that all on your rig or your console, right? You've got a dedicated server that's shouldering some of that. And so trying to do that in a single player game, people kept saying, they're like, well, there's no games doing this. And I'm like, there's probably a good reason for that. Like that no single player games are shoving this many NPCs in an area or having this level of draw distance and these size of these, these areas. Because like when I play like a Ghost of Yote or a Horizon Forbidden West, I actually think Horizon Forbidden West especially has some towns and interactions where there are tons of NPCs and it runs fine. And that game's gorgeous. So I'm not quite sure why people think that's such an achievement to just the map's huge and there's tons of NPCs if the performance is going to be what it is. And I'm like, I just think this thing being an MMO first, trying to sort of retrofit itself into single player, I said it's like trying to put an elephant in a one-car garage. It just isn't going to fit. It's not going to work. And you can sense it in all these systems that are 2-inch deep, boss fights that aren't tuned properly, combat that feels like it's too convoluted. There's too many things you can do. I said I wouldn't be surprised if all those things you can do within combat it's almost like 3 to 4 people's abilities jammed into one person. Because if you go into an MMO, everybody's doing something different. And now all of a sudden you have to do all those things. I don't know. That's what it feels like they did to me. It's like they tried to take something that works in an MMO environment, and I think we're seeing it just doesn't work in a single player environment. Even the reviews, as Chrono was saying, they're all hitting the same notes. They're not even really on PC complaining about performance. I mean, there are people complaining about that, but the primary complaints are it's mundane. The inventory system makes no sense. You're out here farming for all these materials and you quickly run out of room. The storage thing they give you, you can't store anything in it. It's only for items that you didn't pick up, which is weird. It's like, so they've made all these decisions that feel very amateurish. They feel very weird. And I don't know if that's because they were rushing. Maybe this was a money issue. You know, we know with like Highguard, they rushed it out because they were running out of money. Like, was this a money situation? Like, because this thing feels very much like every single piece and part of it is so not bolted down and quality and tested. It all feels, it feels like everything has been sort of just a first pass of like, well, we'll just do this with the combat or the controls or the farming. And then nobody comes back around and says, this doesn't make functional sense. Like you're running out of inventory space just trying to get materials to make food like that. How does that get through testing? I don't know. It's
the fact that the game went gold also, like I think in October, and not October, in like January, they made that announcement. And when they made that announcement, my thought was like, oh, this will be really good because they can really kind of test and fine tune. That means that they were satisfied with what the game is. And I think it becomes then a marketing, focus. And my biggest gripe, I think, with anything within gaming, it really boils down to marketing. And I know marketers will usually chime in when they hear me say that, because there is a value in terms of you have a product, you want to educate a market on what that product is because they might be very interested in it. But I do think it easily can run the risk of taking that negative turn, and we end up seeing that play out in interesting ways. I think when I brought up the aspect of factions, I think that's what we're seeing at play here in the online discourse, when we continue to see gamers who have not played the game, who have already decided that this is going to be their game of the year. And honestly, I hope that actually is true, because what ends up happening is it isn't. And then you end up having this kind of emotional roller coaster that they go on. And usually it ends up with, hey guys, this was the game that made me finally decide not to pre-order games. But I do think it's MMO roots and how it, builds off of Black Desert from the company does end up attracting that. And so like Josh Drive Hayes talked about how MMO players are looking for that community. They're looking for something to kind of be a part of. And even though this isn't an MMO, I do think you have one faction vying for something that they can fill in the void that they're looking for in terms of community, or just essentially to put another 100, 200, who knows how many hundreds of hours you could end up putting in this game due to its scale is quite impressive. And I think the numbers do reflect that. The marketing campaign has been effective. They have announced today they've sold over 2 million units, and that number is going to go up. The Steam chart numbers look really rock solid. What we don't know, and what I'll end up reporting on, here over the next week or two, is what we can kind of gauge from the console sales. But I would venture to bet that those are doing fairly well, especially like on PlayStation and on PlayStation 5 Pro. What we saw with the Digital Foundry, the shipping a physical PS5 Pro with the game already installed, there were just so many different red flags on the way, and you had a lot of gamers wanting to bury their hand in the sand when the reviews finally come out. That visceral shock reaction that we've seen. And I guess the question that is brewing under all of this is that, is there a cure to the madness and the insanity that seems to exist around games that are marketed as one thing and either then deliver or don't deliver? What do you think, Scrag?
Well, I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
Can you make beer in Crimson Desert?
I don't know, actually. You can make a lot, but I don't know if you can make beer. You can make like food at a like cook. I don't know if anybody's gotten that far to make beer.
I saw somebody like kick a cat and then punch a kid or something like that. So it's like there is
game of the year.
Because I was gonna say, in Black Desert, for a time, most of the beer you bought on my server was mine. So I just want to say I really enjoyed that. But in any case, and in terms of the marketing, they did a really good job of marketing. They showed off some really cool, flashy stuff. But I definitely think this is the kind of game, at least based on my experience with their previous game, all jokes aside, it's not going to be for everybody just because it's so, like you guys are saying, a mile wide and an inch deep or something like that. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but at least in terms of referring to Black Desert, but I do get where you're coming from. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm not buying it till it goes on sale. I've already given them like thousands of dollars for Black Desert and not a single boss weapon dropped to show for it. So, yeah.
Chrono, you got anything to add?
I just find it interesting that these titles keep getting hyped up, and the communities that form around them become so militaristic in defending something they haven't even like experienced firsthand. And I don't understand that, because like I've been enjoying games and talking about games for so long, and I've been burned by good games and bad games, or games that I've been excited for that turn out to be crap, or I have not enjoyed games that the marketing and the communities around them tell me I should enjoy. But it's like until you experience it, like, how do you go, this is the best game ever? How dare you say anything critical? And then, I don't know. I guess that's a whole different conversation. It's just, how are people forming these relationships with a game that they haven't, like, it's not going to fill whatever need they're hoping it will, I guess. And it's just like, I don't get it. It is not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last. But this game came out of nowhere for me. Like I knew of Black Desert, like vaguely. I knew this was coming out. I had no idea these people were like this rabid about this game.
Oh, I got some interesting comments just on on X the other day, just because I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait to see the performance on console. There's no such thing as digital scarcity. They have not sold out of the game. Like it. I can buy the game.
Unless you're Nintendo, then you pull your digital games because you want to create
Mario 3D All-Stars. Let's repeat the mantra for the 80,000 millionth time. Do not pre-order video games.
It's easy. It's so easy, and that's where I think marketing is. Its job is to get you to pre-order because they want those pre-sales going into it. You get people locked in, ready to play. Ideally overlooking. It's kind of like it's like any kind of relationship, right? Does anybody here ever had like a girlfriend, and then when they broke up with that girlfriend after some period of time, all your friends are like, dude, thank God y'all together anymore. And you're like, bro, why didn't you tell me? Like, I didn't, you're like, no, man, if we would have told you that she was crazy, you would have been mad. And so it's just better to kind of just grit it. And that's the only way I can relate to that. I don't know if you guys can relate that at all, but I remember that very firsthand, where I was like, I remember my parents going, "Oh, thank God." I was like, "Oh, I didn't see any of those red flags."
As a married man, I don't remember my life before marriage. I'm sorry.
Smart. That's why he stays married, folks. It's a pro tip right there. You just forget about it.
I do want to add an addendum to my statement, though.
Okay.
Don't pre-order video games unless it's my video game. You can pre-order that one. That's okay.
Well, I think that's where you see a lot of companies have pivoted to wish list, instead of pre-order, because the wish listing at least assumes some kind of interest and intent, but doesn't, like, I don't know. I guess I would request a refund if I had pre-ordered Crimson Desert, right? And I started playing it and had the issues I had, to be like, nah, I'm sending that back. I don't want that.
That's going to be what I'm kind of interested in seeing in terms of refunds, because I really don't put a lot of stake in Metacritic, OpenCritic. I think really the metric is people who bought the game, and Steam tends to be kind of a better metric for people who've played the game, because you can get these kind of hate campaigns. We've seen them kick up from time to time, where it's just like you want to be a part of something, so you're going in and downvoting and feeling like this is like, yes, we want to make this game look bad, or we want to make this game look good. At the end of the day, if you've played it, Steam tells you how many hours you've played it, what your review on it is. I think it's the most informative that you can truly be, outside of then going to streamers, which is the other thing that I'm thinking is going to be interesting to see in the long run, is that does this game have a lot of streaming legs? Because it could, in terms of its MMO nature, it could always attract kind of somebody just like willing to kind of grind out some insane things that the game does eventually let you do.
I'm saying all the marketing showed all the cool stuff, but apparently that's like late game or mid game that you got to play for hours before you get there. So
I saw a review that said, man, the first 8 hours sucked. And I was like, wow. Okay. I really want to play that, man.
How many games am I only going to play for 8 hours and never touch it again because it's just that's all the time I had to put into it.
This has got to be the smartest MMO that I've seen, because we've seen that time and time again that it's like it gets good after 100 hours. It gets like you got.
Oh yeah, it's doing pretty good.
Like after 100 hours,
I'm just saying, like, that's like saying a movie, like you go see like the latest Marvel film and like, the first hour is terrible, but after that, it's like I don't want to sit in a half bad movie.
Well, I think the other issue is time, and this is something I know, Lono, you brought up on your streams this week, is that you can refund the game and get your money back. You can't get those hours back,
right? And
if you're not selling me on the time being worth it, then. Mm-hmm. Or especially like I have to invest how much time? I think they even cursed. I think I was watching. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know the rating of the game. I wasn't paying attention to the rating, but I believe I was like, well, if they're going to be cursing, I can't play with audio, around the kids. And then I was like, okay, well, what am I doing? Like, well, all right, I'm just going to wait. It's easy. It's free. Saves me some money. Opens me up for hours to spend and invest in Marathon. And I think that's a wonderful way we can kind of transition.
I want to bring something up.
Oh, please go ahead.
Remember last week when people were staring at numbers for another game that we enjoy, and people were calling us like shills for saying the same thing that this guy said, roughly, except that our game has a 90% score. I just wanted nothing wrong with you, Windsor guy. I just wanted to bring it up that,
I think that just shows the effect of marketing, and I hope that all 2 million people are just absolutely having a blast with the game.
If you like the game, play the game.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, not everything has to be game of the year or a 90. Going back to Windsor guy's second comment on that, you can have mid games that you enjoy personally. A lot of the games I like don't score well, but they may not even be in the conversation for game of the year. I don't care. I'm just having fun playing video games.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lona.
Well, I was going to say that's part of the problem with a game like this when people get so hyped about it, is that the 78 then does look bad, because it's like, well, no, it's not great. It's not in game of the year contention. It's not terrible either. But the other thing to consider here is we are at such a time in gaming where if you aren't in the high echelons of a score, it is going to be damaging to your perception within the world. Like their stock value dropped because of the 78, because they know that will affect sales. It will make people say, well, I'm going to skip that game, because gaming is stuffed right now. Like every other day, I feel like a game is coming out. My backlog just keeps getting larger. It is hard to justify $70 on a game in the 70s. It's like, well, I might not like it, and then I could have spent that money on something else or worked through my backlog, especially when there's sales and you can wait for a sale. You got people saying to wait for a sale. So it's not that 78 is a bad game. It's a bit of a blemish at a time when there is such a saturation of good games coming out, and then well, I could wait, and then in a week or two there's another game that could possibly be better. And like I was telling people today, some guys like $70 isn't that much money. And I was like, if that's the life you live, you should feel blessed, because for a lot of people, $70 is a lot of money. Like
that's a week of groceries.
Yeah, I said that's a grocery budget for somebody. I was like, that's filling their car with gas twice. I was like, a lot of people, $70 is something they set aside, and that's it for them for a while. And to act like that's not a big deal, I said, and I've obviously campaigned for refunds for that reason, so that you're more protected as a consumer. And when something like this happens, especially when the marketing was so misleading, I really wanted to hammer away at that all this week, that this company was intentionally misleading the public and obfuscating, and they gave a lot of dishonest answers to questions. I'm not trying to have a go at somebody.
They blocked you.
They blocked me, and the way Will Power said we will reveal things before the game comes out. I said he's probably talking about a spec sheet, and it was they had a spec sheet, and then he told somebody to use their brain, like, well, the game's going to run on a 1060 and a ROG Ally, surely it'll run on a PS5, and I'm like, I made a joke about myself. I was like, I could run in a marathon. I'm not going to run very well. Like, just because your game is going to run on a 1060 or a ROG Ally. I mean, I don't know. That to me is the most frustrating part about this, that instead of being honest and showing people the game, and in some respects, just ship it on PC first, I'd have been fine with that. Like, it's because it seems like they've got good ideas. It's just the game's spread very thin. So quality's low virtually everywhere. Shipping it on PC and then boasting about your pre-order numbers and your sales numbers, that's just some glib, weird behavior.
Well, that's weird, because I can remember when, like, we used to, like, as a collective gamer community, hold publishers and developers to task for doing this exact thing. I remember the PS3 Killzone footage that was entirely faked. It was all pre-rendered,
and they running on a PC.
Right. They were saying, "Nah, this is real-time rendering." And we were like, "It's not," and we know it's not. And then 10 years later we find out, "Oh yeah, it actually wasn't. They did just straight up lie." And that was like a big thing back in the day. And now we're just like, "Oh yeah, let's rally behind this game because that trailer looked awesome." And it's like, I don't think that's reasonable when Sony is publishing these trailers and saying, "This is the PlayStation footage," and it's like, "No, that's the PC footage." Like, I think that says a lot about where we are, and it's just weird. It's weird at best. It's misleading at worst.
Well, what I don't get, and forgive me, I don't have a ton of experience with publishers other than the few times I've talked to them in the last 6 months, which was like a few times. I don't understand how a development company or a publisher can, in good faith, release a game that runs like garbage. Like, I get it with Cyberpunk. They bit off a little bit more than they could chew at the moment. I get it. PS4 was never going to run that game very well. That was their fault for promising stuff too early. But like for my project, for example, I'm like, okay, guys, I want this game to run on the Switch 2 at 120 FPS. I want it to run on the OLED on 90 FPS, because I think it's 90 hertz, right? Or is it? No, the Switch OLED.
I think it's
Switch
60.
OLED is 90.
I do not think they got to 90.
Maybe it's 60. Whatever. The highest frame rate that the Switch OLED supports. I want the Steam Deck to be 120 just in case they make a better one. And then, everything else needs to run at least 120 or 240 for PC and whatever. Obviously not 240 on PlayStation or Xbox, but 120 at least. And that's kind of like from the beginning, our entire process of making the game has been, what is the best way that we can minimize the amount of resources that the machine is using at any given time so we can get as high of a frame rate as possible, versus, hey guys, our game looks like real life if you blink a lot, right? Like, I don't get it. I don't get how they could just push it out.
Well, I think because it works. I mean, that was one of the things that I kept trying to tell people. I was like, this is a playbook that companies use. They do this really weird, overhyped marketing thing. They're obfuscating. They're not showing us the game on console. They were being real combative when you would ask about it. And then they got their fans like attacking people like me for asking or even saying, hey, don't pre-order. And then the game comes out, and this is where I think refunds would play a significant role in consumer protection, because if people could refund this game on console, some of these companies would think very, very differently. Because being like, oh, we got 2 million in sales and however many copies, they sold on console. Well, none of those people can get their money back. Like, I got my money back on Xbox only because the game hadn't installed yet. But once that game's downloaded on your PlayStation or your Xbox, it's really hard to get your money back. Steam, it's easier. So obviously, it's not surprising that was their primary focus for development. Like, that's where you're going to get beat up a whole lot more. I think 58% as a score globally is really bad. I mean, English, I think if you look at your region, like English speaking score, it's moving up to like a 70, which is good to see. Like, okay, maybe they're making improvements. One of the reasons I think it's moving up is because once the refunds get processed, all those review scores get pulled from the total. Like your score, your review doesn't count on the Steam score if you get a refund. So everybody refunded it, and they woke up this morning, the refunds had processed, and magically the score got better. And it was like, that's a little weird. So I don't think the patches did that much improvement that quickly for people, because the reviews that are putting in the time and keeping it, 10, 12, 30 hours, man, oh man. I mean, Chrono and I already talked about it. They're all saying the same thing. So I think it's because it works, though. And the only reason it works on console is because we are not empowered as consumers to get refunds. And I think a lot of these shenanigans would stop if I could go and click I've always said this, the ease with which I purchase something digitally, I should be able to return it. And Stop Killing Games initiative, I think, could help us, because it really highlights the fact that a company can take your license away. Well, if you can take it away, I can give it back. And I think that's logical and grounds to say I should be able to get my money back. Go ahead, take the license away from me. I can't play the game anymore, and now I get my money back. And a great way to protect the platforms, I've said this, I know the platforms don't want to have that transaction fee. Well, just give me store credit. I don't need you to put the money back on my credit card. Just give me store credit.
Odds are I buy stuff on Xbox all the time. Odds are I'm going to go spend it more on the Xbox. So who cares?
Exactly. Because PlayStation and Xbox shouldn't be left holding the bag of all these transactional charges when a game bombs. Like that's right. Not fair to them. So give me store credit.
Well, I think now that someone in the chat brought it up, how much they think our favorite game this last couple of weeks is Dog Water, we should talk about Marathon.
Dude, I'm addicted to this game, man. And it's so funny because it's like, clearly Bungie and Sony want bigger numbers, but beyond the numbers itself, we've been talking about this new map raid, addition that they're adding, and it's Cryo. And this week, it comes out that there's a level restriction. Okay,
should we show the trailer? I could pull up the trailer.
If you want to pull up the trailer, go for it. Yeah. And I was playing just last night with Scrag and with Kirk, and we were running and finding all these secrets, and it's like every time I play, like there's something to really enjoy, and I'm glad I've got people who play way more than I do, so that it's like I can kind of experience like, oh, they discovered this, and they're like, hey, Brian, you should come check out that. But the reality is not just that it's like the level requirement isn't as big of a deal. Maybe want to mute it so we don't blast ourselves. But it's also only on the weekend, and that in and of itself made my heart and my brain go to war with each other, because this then becomes a piece of content that's aspirational, and I don't know who it's for, because it can't be for me. And that's okay. Not everything has to be for me, but there's no way that this is going to be a piece of content that I'm going to be able to grind all week for, and then find the time to get a babysitter and, I don't know, send my wife to something she enjoys so that I can just play in Cryo and actually find that it's probably worth my time. But that's just my take. I'm glad it exists. I think this will be interesting if streamers stick with it, where they can prep for Cryo and then they can have content on the weekends. But man, I don't know, guys. What do y'all think?
Well, it's Friday through Monday. So when they say weekend only, they mean only 4 out of 7 days of the week.
It's like Trials of Osiris then.
Yeah. So retail workers who work on the weekend, line cooks, people who fill up your gas tanks at the gas station, don't worry. You can still play on Friday and Monday if you work the weekend. Just like I can't, I won't most of the time be able to play on Friday or Monday. So it balances out. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. I know that you don't feel like you're going to be able to grind a lot to just play it. But sorry about that. Let me get Shroud off of here. I don't want to anger him.
Get the guy out of here.
But
I do find it weird that like it is like time blocked more or less. But it makes sense if they're wanting to give players a chance to like earn enough loot and vault value to get in there, or I guess it's loadout value.
It's loadout value. Which honestly, like, it wasn't the level requirement for me. I was like, I haven't even gotten over like 2K value, and it's so fun because like, and I play it wrong when I'm on a sponsored kit. Like I'm regressive, I'm having fun, and we usually win. As soon as I'm like, I'm gonna build out my loadout and I'm gonna take these things, I'm dead. Like it's just like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
it's like no, good luck. And I'm like, man, it's like I always kind of afterwards, I'm like, I should have gone with sponsored, but oh well,
Well, that's the
I've
thing.
been enjoying like the solo runs because I can use that sponsored kit and then I don't care, if I lose. But it does get a little like that loop becomes hard to keep doing over and over because it's like if you get overrun by even like the AI bots, it's a very quick. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to restart again. So I don't know that I would get even close to being able to like jump into any of these events. I have no desire to play ranked for this game, by the way. That doesn't
Oh, yeah,
appeal to
me
me at
neither.
all. But at least Cryo, like it's something new. And I think the difference is like with other first person shooters, at least in the past, you could like jump into a new map single player and figure it out and at least get to like look at the map and then jump into a match. And then with this, it's like, well, you just have to qualify and then good luck. Even if you only get to do it once ever, that's all you get, So I kind
The
of
requirements for this though, they're that's not that high. 5K, that's
yeah.
one good rook run. Like that's it's nothing. Like I understand you guys haven't played as much as I have yet. But it's like once you kind of get the hang of it a little bit more, like once you start, for me, it started clicking around level 25 or 30. Like once I started figuring out, oh hey, if I go here, I get good stuff, or oh hey, if I just kill people, I take their stuff. Like I think I have like 90K in my bank and 30K in my wallet, so it's like I can go like 25 or 30 times and not worry about it. And from what they tell us is that everything in there is valuable, pretty much everything.
Yeah,
So
I don't doubt that. You guys took me to the special ship in Outpost at the end of a run, and it was this. I have like the things that y'all were. I was seeing in gear wise. I wish I had a backpack because I was like, this is the coolest thing I've seen in the game so far, and it kept like doubling up and tripling up. But I have to ask Lono, like your complaint is there hasn't been enough hardcore, super niche content for you that would be appealing. Like when you look at this cryo news. Like who is this for in your opinion?
Wait, you think I said there wasn't enough?
I was joking. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like,
I was thinking, this is super hardcore where it's like, okay, well, like not only do you only have 4 days, and I see chat saying like, but what if I work Friday through Monday? It's like
then you're screwed.
Have we got a game for you, Crimson Desert? You don't have to.
We'll play Arc Raiders or something, or Tarkov.
Yeah, I happen to speak fluent Bungie, so I think interpreting their behavior about this, I would imagine they don't want people to be able to be in there all day, every day, because eventually you're just going to hit a stride. This happened with raids, right? Raids would open on the weekend, and a week later, folks are just burning it to the ground real quick, like metas emerge, right? So you're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna have to go the week and just sort of like everybody kind of forgets, loses their footing. We've all been there, right? Like if you've been playing a raid for a while and then a couple of weeks go by and then you decide to go back in, you're not as familiar, you're cold, you make mistakes, right? And I think they're probably concerned about their most ardent players doing that. Like you're just gonna get to the point where you know where to stand, you know what loadout to use,
They know 100% that there are going to be like about 5,000 or 6,000 people statistically just on the PC concurrence at any given time that are only running Cryo Archive, only getting the best stuff and throwing away literally everything else. And they're going to get to a point where like, oh, I did everything. It's not fun. Whereas, because like they've seen Tarkov, they know what happens in Tarkov. What happens when you go into labs in Tarkov? Everybody brings in their best stuff and takes the best stuff from other people. Yeah, and the best stuff also spawns there. And the only limiting factor to labs in Tarkov, at least as when I last played it, is finding a key, which is like very extremely rare just to go, which I don't think it's as rare anymore. But still, like, man.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean that's my take, is that Bungie is it's essentially a time gate. And I do think it's natural for people to get angry and to revolt. I mean, I saw lots of people saying this is terrible. How am I supposed to play? You know, especially let's say you're not like Ginger and you are at a place where you can go in and you got the loot value, but you and your boys can't play on the weekends, or it's really hard for you to play on the weekends. Like I remember, I think like it was Halo Infinite that did something really weird where like they limited your XP. So like you would like max out. And so you could only play so many games before you were getting diminishing returns of XP. And I remember pointing out like that's a terrible way to treat it, because what if some guy has to binge the game on a Saturday, but the rest of the week he can't play? He's going to net less XP per hour.
Yeah, they were doing that with the dailies. It was a limited number of dailies, and they eventually walked back on that and had them like auto populate.
Yeah,
you know, they eventually figured it out.
Right, because
I hate more than a game studio telling me to stop having fun. It's like, we see you're having fun with our game. Please excuse yourself. Final Fantasy 14 1.0 did this with what they called the fatigue system, which essentially is at some point you're not going to get any experience because they were worried about all these internet like cafe people like playing for 48 hours without sleeping and dying. It's like,
yeah,
okay, we don't want that headline. But at the end of the day, like, why are you punishing the rest of us because somebody over here is an alcoholic or a gambler? Yeah, let's fix that. Like, that's the thing with Cryo. It's like, I'm not a gambler. Like, I'm sitting here like, you know, I'm gonna weigh that, and I do want to try it out, and I am going to invest the time to be able to actually get some runs in, and I'm sure I'm going to like it. But the thought that first came into my mind was, I wish my kids were like 5 years older so I could have them grind for me during the week so that dad can play Cryo on the weekend. It's like, I'm
That's
not
right.
joking you. I'm
Just
so
a
close,
regular
boys.
Elon Musk over here.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's like, you know, I don't have his finances, but I feed these kids. And that $70 grocery budget, you want those goldfish? I want some blue. Let's go. I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. I'm gonna have my kids put in some grind for me here in a couple years when they're capable. I saw Gabe, who you guys saw earlier on the podcast. He played some marathon with me. He's not that great, but we'll get him there. Anyway, Lonnie, you're about to say something.
It reminds me of like how they treated raids, right? So like you could only get drops. Like what was it? I haven't played in so long. It was once per character, right? I think that's how they did it, once per character. And so, you know, that's 3 drops a week or whatever. And I think with Cryo Archive, they probably, because of the nature of the game, you couldn't really do that. Like, oh, well, you've hit your max drops, you know, so now it's over. I also think, again, they're probably more concerned with folks just absolutely burning it and figuring out all the best ways to play. They kind of want to elongate the content, which there's room for criticism there. There's also room for understanding. It's like, I don't feel like there's a lot here. I feel like, you know, they've got to make this last before that, you know, that seasonal wipe. And then that's the question, like, what's the next aspirational thing for, you know, the next season? Like that's going to be kind of interesting to follow. I would say, and I know people don't want to hear about the Steam charts, but given the week, I was shocked. I thought this week they would see a rise, and those peaks just continued to come down. I was like, this is kind of the week you'd think people are in there trying to get ready, trying to get, you know, their gear up and trying to get in there. I do really wonder what we're looking at in a month, because it just continues to go down, even with something like this going on.
I just have to point out, and I have to be completely honest, that I feel really bad that at least probably like 10 or 15 people quit the game because I absolutely murdered them in cold blood. And so if you're one of those people, I'm not going to refund you your money back, but I don't feel bad, and I hope you come back someday to have fun with us.
I mean, you're joking, but this does feel
I'm not joking.
Okay, you're not joking, but I think that's what happens in a game like this. You have a couple of bad nights or a really bad night. People they're gonna walk. They're like, I'm done, dude. I'm done. I lost too much. Like that's devastating, you know. Especially and you know, listen, you guys heard it here first. When this game gets shut down, it was Scragg's fault. So
he just killed it.
Partially my fault.
He killed so hard he killed the entire game.
Dude, last night, not joking, before I got on with Brian, me and my team wiped the entire lobby on Outpost. I completed multiple 1v3s while my teammates were down. And on one of them, one of the guys just like literally alt F4'd. It was great. Like a rook showed up. Nah, you're dead. That's my loot. We killed everyone. And then like with like 30 seconds left on the clock to get out, I was like, oh, hey guys, we should probably leave, not open this door. And we got out with like literally 1 second left. It was great. It was awesome.
Dude, it's like there is an addictive nature, and you brought up the point last week talking about how kind of that threat is like a part of it. But I do, and I will continue to hold that it's like at some point in my day there is a diminishing returns, and I don't necessarily feel like I want to jump into that all the time. And giving me, like I wish again, and like it'd be interesting to see if like with Cryo they have this aspect. Like if they ever decide to go with like kind of a PvE kind of, you know, grind of investment where, yeah, your gear is at risk if the AI gets you.
But see, like that's the thing though, like the gear in, and I've been trying to describe this to my buddy who hates this game and won't try it, and even though he's not playing Arc Raiders anymore. I'm like, dude, in Arc Raiders, when you lose a gun, it kind of feels bad, right? You're like, oh man, I worked on that gun, I upgraded it. I've been using it for like 2 or 3 raids. Like I got a lot of cool kills with that gun. I've got all the stuff on it I want. It was like the perfect gun, and then someone killed me and took it. In this game, it's like, oh, I lost a really good gun. Oh, hey, look, there's like 7 really good guns in that cabinet over there and all over the floor with these dead bodies. And there's guns literally everywhere. It does not matter. Oh, you took my good gun? Okay, well, I have like so many more. If I lose a gun that I really like, who cares? I have like 12 more that I really like. And if I lose those, guess what? There's like 50 more on the floor in the map. So it doesn't matter. Like, yes, the best, rarest guns are cool, but they also kind of suck. Just being honest. So
I've got like 11 levels and like 5,000 in terms of credit to get my loadout to even attempt Cryo. So I don't think that's happening, even though it is live. But man, I tell you, it is interesting because there's always going to be this appeal.
I'm on console. Hold on. I gotta dunk on someone. I am on console.
And
I'm on PlayStation and PC. For you.
Dude, that cross play is, and cross progression is a game changer. Like being able to play the game on Xbox, play on the on Steam. I love it. On that note, though, any other final thoughts regarding kind of Marathon and their aspirational content? Because when it makes sense if the numbers and the player base was like, you know, massive, but I think this is just it. Like Lona said, you've seen the kind of the numbers trail off this week rather than kind of build up as people prepare for the release of it. And I was going to ask you guys this before we kind of get into what we're playing this week. You guys see like Ninja's kind of, you know, response to kind of like not streaming it and kind of going back to Unk Raiders as people have been lovingly calling it. Like, did y'all get to watch this clip?
No, what did he say? I saw it, but I didn't get to listen to it.
It was just that like while he has fun with the game, like as he's talking as a streamer, and he's like, as a streamer, you're seeing the numbers that when like Shroud is pulling or somebody like 10K in, you know, Arc Raiders, and then every day he streams Marathon, it's 7, then 6, then 5. It's like those are real realities that they in terms of their career have to deal with. And if people aren't interested in watching the grind and the prep for Cryo, like it, you know, it obviously like that marketing arm for it outside of creating a kick-ass Bungie trailer, which we all know Bungie's always been really good at doing. Like I just don't, man, it does make me wonder what those meetings are like within the Bungie offices right now. Like, and how they either are satisfied with the results or if they're going to keep continuing on. And the only time will tell in that regards. Any final thoughts on that before we get to what we're playing?
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Chrono.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of people forget, and I was kind of defending Burnt Peanut in this because like he was playing off stream, and people were like, "That's ridiculous. This community's so toxic." And I was like, you have to understand when these guys get to this level, like they're a business, and if they spend a week playing a game that's self-indulgent and murders their numbers, they've got they probably have an agent or somebody negotiating contracts for them, and actively harming their reach harms their contracts that they can get. So if Peanut spends a week booming in Arc Raiders, he's actively at that moment getting sponsorships and contracts and all these things, and he's getting paid according to his concurrent viewer averages and all that. So to willfully be like, oh, I'm just going to tank my numbers, that's just a lot to ask for these guys. Like, you got to make hay while the sun is shining. I mean, Burnt Peanut's not going to be the biggest streamer for forever. Ninja can attest to that. Anybody can attest to that that's been up at the top of the mountain. So make that money. I respect it. I don't expect these guys to actively play something that maybe they're enjoying, but if their audience is like, dude, what is this? I mean, I went through that when I was a Destiny streamer. My viewership would get cut in half if I played anything else.
Right.
Well, as much as I was enjoying some games, I wasn't going to suddenly just be playing No Man's Sky every day. It would have been, career suicide. So I think people need to remember that. They get really critical and they feel like these streamers are doing something wrong. And it's like, they got to take care of what they've built. Just because you're enjoying, Marathon and you'd love to see them play it more, if it's actively harmful to everything they're building in their momentum, I just don't expect them to stream it. That aspect has to be considered, I think.
I have one thing to bring up.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I wonder what else Bungie really has in the chamber for this game, and I don't know if they've done any roadmaps or
They have
anything.
going all the way up to June for like season 2 or something like that. And then it
Okay.
has August for their next season, but it's all redacted and they don't even highlight it. So it's like, at least if nothing else, like content. And that's where
'Cause
they do a
I'd
seasonal
imagine
wipe
they did-
too, which I'm wondering how that's gonna make me feel.
Yeah, because I imagine they at least had the first year like at least planned, right, internally or more. But if this first weekend like event doesn't pop off, which I mean, let's just go by the prep numbers, right? During midweek, it doesn't look that way. Then I wonder what they could. I don't know what they could do to really bring people into the game.
PvE.
Yeah,
I think.
I guess that's what it comes down
question ends
to.
up being is that if they do that, is that through an expansion? Because that could end up being like the Bungie model with Destiny, where it's like every year you kind of have a check-in point, and they're like, "Hey, $40," and you're like, "Oh, I'm enjoying this" or whatnot. You could have that kind of taking king moment, so to speak. Whereas like, "Hey, we heard your feedback, and bada bing, bada boom," or it's just seasonal model, entry fee, and we're gonna just try to get our get the money back that we've invested in the game, and then hopefully then some. But we'll see. But Scrag, you had one final thought before we get to things and what we're playing?
Yeah. So specifically, and you can go back and verify this, when I was playing Arc Raiders, from when I was on the podcast playing Arc Raiders, the vibe and the tone of the game itself. We're not talking about numbers. We're not talking about like loot. We're not talking about any of that. The vibe and the tone of the vibe and the tone of the game itself is so different, and the way that the game is set up is so different, and just, I don't want to say friendly because it's not friendly. It's like kind of the opposite of friendly. But the way that the game is set up, that the same person who, when they're playing Arc Raiders, goes, "Ah, man, that guy killed me. I'm just trying to get a quest done, man. This sucks. Can't you just not kill someone for 30 seconds? Like, can't you just like be nice to somebody?" Is the same person in Marathon who's going, "I'm gonna kill ya. I'm coming to kill ya." Like, it's fun to just kill people in that game because it encourages you to do it. It doesn't try to make you feel bad for doing it. And when it happens to you, it doesn't feel bad either. It just kind of feels like you're playing Halo multiplayer, to be like completely honest. Like, you don't feel bad when you kill a guy in Halo multiplayer. No. Do you feel bad when you kill a guy in DayZ? If you're a real person, you do. Do you feel bad when you kill a person in Rust? No. It's just like the tone of the game kind of leads to the style of game that it is in terms of like multiplayer and what people do. It is totally possible to team up with people in Marathon. Do you know what happens anytime someone tries to team up with me? They die. So, but if they try to team up with me in Arc Raiders, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. I don't know if that's interesting to you guys or not, but
That's the whole new side of Scrag. I feel like
I think you need
cocaine
therapy
under his nose.
Marathon is the therapy.
It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here, dude. I think you need therapy.
it's just the tone of the game, man. On one side, I got Arachne telling me, "Yes, kill poor people, life and death," blah. And on the other side, we have, "Oh man, Raiders. They keep knocking each other out, and we can't stop them. We don't know what's going on. Can you stop them?"
All right, let's get to our thanks. We've got a member, P. Chalice. Thank you so much. Looks like that was a renewal, but maybe I'm reading it wrong. But also Mr. Negative with a 27 sec super chat saying, totally weird, screw Crimson Disaster, 100%. So thank you guys so for the support. Also, you guys did it last week. You got over 100 likes, especially after the podcast was over. You've done that already. I didn't even say anything. So thank you guys so much for coming in and liking the podcast. It really does help the show out a lot. And we hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we've been having fun making it for you guys, especially with so much that's going on. And in the last minute here as well, Chili with a $2 Euro super chat says, thanks for always for the podcast. Much love. So thank you so much, Chili, for that support. Now, on that note, we like to wind down with what we're playing this week. Let's start. We know what Scrag's playing this week. Let's start with Chrono, man. Are you because we did bully you into picking up Marathon. So
I made that decision on my own. I'm gonna try to hop on some Marathon this weekend, but over the next week, I'm having fun playing Pokemon Leaf Green. So I'm probably gonna work on that some more, and Pokopia.
Yeah,
I'm not a complicated individual here. I don't have to play the newest and best games. I could just play Pokemon and be happy.
I challenged my oldest daughter because she was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Well, I got her Fire Red, and I was like, if you beat the Elite Four, I'll get you Potokvia. I can't even pronounce it. So she's on a quest now to beat that.
I'm trying to talk my kid into getting Fire Red just so I can trade. Because I don't want to play through 2 copies of the game. I do not want to do that, but I'll talk my kid into it.
There you go. Lona, what you playing this week, man? More Crimson Desert?
No. I'm gonna do my best to pull my wife away from Power World because she loves that game. We play that almost every night. We're having so much fun with it. I think we're closing in on like almost 40 hours maybe. I want to try out Dragonkin the Banished with her. It was an early access game on Steam. It finally hit PlayStation. It's got a pretty good score. Seems like a pretty straightforward, like top-down action RPG dungeon crawler. So I might try that with her. I have also been really enjoying, I've been telling everybody to check this game out. If you like Survivor-like games like Deep Rock Galactic Survivor or Vampire Survivors, check out a game called Grind Survivors. It's got a great score on PlayStation, like a 4.75. I'm super hooked. It's very fun. I've hit a bit of a wall. I'm kind of grinding, but it's a survivor game with loot, with guns that drop, and you can like infuse them and level them up. And if you just like that kind of mindless grind, it doesn't have as good of a score on PC. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I have been loving it. It's a perfect game for like the PlayStation Portal, handheld gaming. So Grind Survivors, and a reasonable price too. I don't think it's very expensive, but like I love when little small games come out like that and just kind of hook me. I'm enjoying it more than Soul Survivors, which was another game that I was enjoying, but I like this one quite a bit more. I think it's because it feels like a shooter, like a twin stick looter shooter, but it's got that survivor element.
Very cool. Scrag, anything else besides Marathon that's on your?
I have a big surprise for you boys. I bought a Switch 2 last week.
Oh,
and I got Pokopia, and I played it some. And I played some Zelda. I got to be real though, guys. I like Pokopia, but it is so much of a time sink. I have to like not play it, consciously not play it.
I'm gonna have to bully my daughter and be like, "You better be grinding." It's like, oh no, you need 4 badges by Monday. Let's go.
But I did get a Switch 2, and I also bought the what do you call it? The combo bundle, whatever that has both of the Zelda games. And I've been playing Breath of the Wild, which I had tried before, but it always just kind of made me motion sick, I guess, because of the frame rate. But it's actually pretty fun. I like it.
Dude, on Switch 2, it's like great. Breath of the Wild, Tears
of
the Kingdom.
The only thing I don't like about the Switch 2, and you might have to tell me after the show, how do you hold it without wanting to die? Is there like different controllers you can buy?
Yeah,
because it is so uncomfortable.
Put it on your TV.
No, I meant like in my hands. I want to hold it in my hand.
You get a grip. Like,
dude, I don't know. I would throw so much money if Nintendo just gave me a little box that hooked up to the TV. That was the Switch 2. I don't need the handheld version of it. I have bought so many of these daggum Joy-Cons already that I'm like, stop it. Like
you're keeping the parts factory in business here.
Well, and then you got the tariffs, and it's like, oh my god. Anyway, I've been like, oh no, for the love of God, and then it's like, all right, but to keep, anyway, it is what it is. They've broken mine every time, and now there's a rule because like for those of you who don't know who've never heard the stories, like there have been many Switches that have drowned in the tub, and I don't know how they got near it, but like I was literally this week we went camping. It was cold at night. We had a great time, but it was so cold. Came back, kind of chilled to the bone. Took a hot bath. Kid walks in holding a Switch 2, like at the door. I was like, "You get the hell!" Like, do not take another step. I've seen too many of these things drown, and Nintendo, as much as I keep throwing money at them, I'd prefer to hold on to some of that this week. Easily for me, like I said, like the kids have been playing Pokemon. I'm gonna keep playing some Marathon, but the No Rest for the Wicked, Moon Studios dropped a big update, patch 1 for their Together update. Numbers are actually holding out really strong. I haven't done an analysis of that. Probably will make a video on it, but a lot of new content. PvP duels are in. There's more things that are coming. Basically, this is kind of like a big springboard for them attempting to release the game this year. And I think if anybody has been paying attention to that game at all, it is, I think, going to be one of the really fun games that gets released especially when we can welcome in the console players into the community. I think that's going to be really big for everybody. So I'm going to be playing some more No Rest for the Wicked this weekend and catching up on all the latest changes for you guys as well. So on that note, thank you guys. We'll be back next week covering all the latest news and discussion that's been going on in gaming. And till then, guys, be sure to follow these guys. All the links and stuff will be below. So you'll see all their little beautiful icons. Just click subscribe and go check them out. And if you guys are interested, Lono puts out a show Monday through Friday. It's safer work. So if I'm introducing you to him, awesome. But it's a great place to hang out and get all the latest news as well. So on that note, all the plugs have been plugged. Thank you guys so much for the support, and we will see you next time.